Welcome back. We'll keep focus on test just one more lesson right here. If I look into my product right here, you'll notice that right now this is an integer, this is a string. Now if you want to guard yourselves against that so people don't by mistake go and make it into a double, for instance, because they thought that would be okay, or convert this into something else, then we can actually also test ourselves a little bit there to make sure that this doesn't happen. You'll notice right now my test actually doesn't fail because I've not done any type safety, so I'm not making sure that this is not just an integer value or a double value. It doesn't really care right now. So at the current time, this is not a test I'm actually doing right here to make sure that it's okay. Now, if I did an int here, of course, it would fail because an int cannot be used as a string. So that's kind of not an issue because that would never happen. I would get errors right away if I try to convert an int to a string, right? So, but in the case of numbers, there would be an issue right here. So let's just make one more test before we continue. I'm just going to go here and say the ID should actually be a number right here, an integer number. So let's go in here and say product ID must be int. Now, of course, it's up to you if that is a test you actually want. But I just want to show you this again, just to do a bit of testing. Now, I'll just do an assert equals right here, just to say, let's actually do a true to show another one. So the true is pretty much just we're going to say that we expect that the product.id is int. So that's just a way for us to kind of test that we expect that this ID is actually an integer and not another type of number. Let's just try and rerun our test now. We'll just right click this guy and run the unit test. If you press down here, you might not get the newest tests if you do the run all. So just try and go and check out and right click this guy and then it will show up down here just to kind of tell you. Now we fail because if we go back, the product is actually not an int right now, it's a double. Let's make it back to an int right here and try and rerun the test again. Now we can run all, see if that actually solved the issue. So this is just a simple test again, but again, it proves that if we get better at testing and better at considering the issues that might occur, both from a developer point of view, and later we'll start looking at validation, for instance, saying the ID must be above 0, the ID cannot be more than a normal integer value, etc., then that will help you throughout this testing period right here. So later on, if you get to a point where somebody says this needs to be a long, well, that's okay, but you have to figure out what that will break in your code. So again, there should be a test at least failing showing you, but I expect it to be an int. And then the developer, he can say, okay, well, I need it to be a long now, so I'll just change it to a long right here in the test. I'll also rename it right here and say now it's actually a long. And maybe I'll even put in a comment saying, I changed this to a long because we now need to have more values in the database because integers is just not enough anymore in the database because we have so many rows. So the point here is that it's every time you make a test, it's again to make a statement in your code that makes sure that somebody are aware if you make changes in the code. Let's make it back to int right here. I just want to show you that. That was a pretty simple test. So next lesson, let's start looking at our actual service values so we can start creating our service for our system. That's it for this lesson. See you next time.